Welcome once again to AM News.
Morning to the viewers.
Firstly, in general, do people know what to do when an earthquake happens and hit a town?
Yeah, with reference to what was happening all over, the country on the social media, you will find out. Yeah, I will say, people are they don't really know what is it that they're supposed to do. For instance, things like staying away from, walls, street lights, and other buildings which might collapse on them.
Now, my granny used to say to me, jump under the table when you hear a tremor and stand in the doorway. These are all myths. How correct are they with these type of things when people tell you what to do?
I will say you must never underestimate, our adults, your elders' wisdom. I think she was spot on there. Yeah, because we normally using the American standard, which says that you need to drop, hold on something and take a cover. So that table, because this means that the building, when it collapses, it will be flat, which is not really that, because now that table will actually create a crawling space. If you are, because what we advise people to do is to stay away from the exterior walls, because those exterior walls which has windows, they have got like maybe paintings which are hanging on. They are likely to fall on from any other flying objects. So the interior walls are much more better because they will be protected when those exterior wall collapses. Therefore, you are likely to be able to move from that area or rescued by emergency services personnel if that building collapses.
Now, how critical is it for occupants of residential and public buildings to have an emergency plan? Because I've seen some buildings that don't have a plan at all.
Yeah, it's very important for the building, working environment, even at homes, to have some kind of a safety plan. I saw all the time when I come to the SABC, I see there's a lot of plans on the walls there in the building. But the question is, do you guys know what is it that you're supposed to do? Those exercises, they're supposed to be conducted at least each and every maybe 6 months or so, so that people know exactly. Because the evacuation plan is not really a document which is a piece of paper which is supposed to be on the wall, but each and every person who's working in that working environment need to know exactly what is it that they're supposed to do when there's an emergency, the escape route. I mean, it's very, disappointing to find out that Elvis doesn't know the exit route, the nearest exit route here from where we are now. What is it that he's supposed to do? So those evacuations plan come in handy on those situations like that.
Now, it's not just at the workplace or in public buildings. It's also at home that you need to be prepared, isn't it?
Yeah, at home you're supposed to have a particular room where you will be able to move into, so that all of you are in the same place. Remember, earlier on I spoke about the exterior walls. So if that room obviously will be in between those exterior walls, which is much more safer. We advise also people to use at least the corners in those interior walls, because that is where you are likely to be found alive if that building collapses. From our side, it's in the media, you're only showing these visuals, Mr. Presley, the visuals where the building is flat.
Yes.
That is why you find out that even after the aftermath of that earthquake, when we go out there, we still find people who are alive under those debris, because most of them, they use those interior walls instead of the exterior walls. There's also this myth that if you stand on the doorway, then you are likely to survive. That story is coming from what happened in California some time ago, because you understand, obviously America, you now and then have these earthquakes. The only thing which was standing there in those visuals, it was a doorway. Now, people feel that that doorway is a safe place. Yes. I mean, I will ask you, Mr. Presley, a doorway cannot protect you on the falling objects. A doorway cannot protect you from any other flying object, because during the earthquake, everything is shaking. So you are likely to get injured because of the falling object. Maybe in the olden days when we're using reinforced doorways, but not now. Now we're using a different material, which is likely to, which is not that much
also to
safer.
Collapse.
So for me, I would say the safer way will be to go, underneath maybe a table if you are in a working in an office building or wherever. There's a furniture where you can be able to hide yourself, or where you can be able to move to an interior wall where if there is a collapse, you will be able to be much more safer.
When we were discussing this yesterday, when this happened, I mean, this entire building was shaking and we didn't know what was going on. The lights were shaking here, and then one of our technical producers this morning said the safest thing for you to do was run towards the doorway and stand in that corner.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we had to clear it, because that reference, he was, from his side, he was talking about something which he saw. As much as I was talking about it with that reference, the only thing which was standing there in those visuals was a doorway, of which maybe during those times the doorway were much more stronger. That's why we advise people to say, if you're outside, let's say you're walking outside, you have to stay away from, for instance, walls, street lights, anything, the bridges, where things which can, actually collapse on you. Because, and also after, Mr. President, after the aftermath, because what we tend to forget now, okay, it's fine, we forgot about what happened around midday yesterday. Now we're just talking about it, that's the earthquake. We had an earthquake yesterday. But now this is what we call the aftermath, which might depend, the geologists, you're talking about the geologists, that they're saying that we might have, so the aftermath, yes. Aftershocks might be much more, dangerous, because you will never know. Like right now, the structure might not have like cracks of which you can visibly see. So we have to be alert in terms of things like that, to say this secondary collapse might happen. So we have to make sure that we aware of our surroundings. And also, if when we are working in areas where the building is likely to collapse, maybe we're removing furniture and things like that, because I saw some of the visuals where people were working in those areas. You expect those people to have some kind of I understand Mr. Presley is not a trained urban and rescue technicians, but you have to have some kind of protection in your head. Like,
and
for
general knowledge, yes.
Yeah, construction head, you have to use it so that if, there is a collapse, you can be protected in terms of head injuries and other injuries.
And just briefly, Robert, what are some of the do's and don'ts that people should do when there's an earthquake? And we're not just talking about a tremor, we're talking about an earthquake.
Yeah, earthquake, firstly, you have to make sure that you protect it. You have to make sure that you take a cover. As we said, make sure that you move, underneath the table or any other furniture, equipment that you can use to protect yourself. You have to stay away from the exterior walls. It's simple. Exterior walls, those walls are not much more stronger, because they've got windows on them. The windows can break, then you can get injured. Those paintings which are hanging on the wall, they can fall. So those walls which are going to collapse firstly when the building collapses. That's why most of the times when the building collapses, those exterior walls will be the walls which will collapse in, and then the interior walls will be much more safer. Therefore, you can be able to be rescued if the building accidentally collapse.
What about driving, people on the road? Should we avoid driving at that point in time?
Yeah, during that period, yes, you have to. There's this other myth that you can park your car and stand on the side of the vehicle, of which I don't know where it's coming from, or you go and park underneath the bridge. What is likely to happen because we are told by the geologists and everybody who studied these things to say, is the sudden shaking. So if something is shaking, immediately something might collapse. So that bridge might collapse while you're parking your vehicle. So you have to be like mostly in your open space where you know that you are not likely to have. And also the sinkholes, because we've seen incidences whereby people get, swept away by, sinkholes. Because for us, these experiences we get when we visit other countries, like areas like the Philippines, Japan, Algeria, and the other areas. They make us to understand so that we also know exactly what is it that to expect when, times like that. So we just fortunate that in South Africa we haven't had, situation where, we've had structures we have collapsed, people had to rescue and things like that. But it's very important for us to be aware, to know exactly what is it that we're supposed to do. Maybe in general, us as emergency services personnel, to make sure that maybe instead of being reactive, we need to move away from being reactive and maybe be more proactive, so that our communities out there, they know exactly what is it they're supposed to do.
Robert Mulaudzi, thank you so much for joining us here on AM News. That was Robert Mulaudzi, the spokesperson for Johannesburg Emergency Services. Now, staying with earthquake